I'm Quentin Clark and I'm the Head of Sustainability and Ethical Sourcing for Waitrose, but I just shortened that to Head of Sustainability for ease.
Okay. So can you begin by giving us an idea of the scale of your supply chain and what proportion of your overall carbon footprint this accounts for?
Every supply chain has got a footprint of some sort. So which parts of that footprint can I most easily influence now or on some kind of a future plan? So we tend to adopt that kind of approach, and really, I suppose you could say a precautionary approach in saying that we know that the footprint exists. We don't always know how much that footprint is, but if we tackle it one chunk at a time and incentivize people to look at that in a positive way, then overall we'll come out on the right side and heading in the right direction.
Earlier this year, you launched the Waitrose Way commitments, which set targets for the business under 4 CSR pillars. How does sustainability and ethical sourcing fit in with these?
That was all about trying to encapsulate long-standing policies and positions and all the rest of it in an easy to digest and accessible way. And the best way we found to do that was to define 12 commitments which tackled each of the key areas of interest. They're not all of the areas of our interest at all, but they're the areas of interest which we know inspire our customers, so therefore we focus on those. And we've constructed those commitments in 2 different ways. So firstly, we want to let people know what we're doing now, because that's not just our customers actually, that's also our partners, the people working in our business, and our supply base. So you know where we are now. But we also want to look at what we're going to be doing in the future. And why do we want to do that? Well, we want to set a future agenda. And we want to set a future agenda which people will find a little bit inspiring, will actually want to join us in delivering that agenda, because it's not just about what Waitrose is doing, it's joining up really right the way through to what you as a customer can do as well. And we hope to inspire people to just do a little bit themselves, as well as, of course, to shop at Waitrose because they want to further that agenda.
How did you go about deciding where to prioritise your efforts? And how do you go about engaging and collaborating with suppliers?
We're very realistic. You know, it's about what can you actually deal with. So if you look at things like waste, we know that's a really important issue for consumers.
Yeah.
So one of those commitments is halving our packaging by 2016 compared to a 2005 base level. So we've set quite a stiff agenda because that's an absolute reduction and our business is growing fast, you know, so we've not made it easy for ourselves by any stretch of the imagination. But if you look at our shelves, you will see the actual practical manifestation of that. So meat packaging moving into sachets, away from big, you know, plastic packs and things like that. It's all part of that reduction agenda.
So how are you going about engaging suppliers and partners and customers in sustainability and the ethical sourcing agenda?
Well, first of all, we work with people for a very long time, you know, and when I say a long time, I mean decades, because it's all about joint business planning. So these things don't come out of the sun at people, you know, as a total surprise. We've been talking about it with them for years. How do we actually incentivize that? Well, obviously, part of that business planning is part of that process, being on the same page. But this last week, we've just publicised the Waitrose Way Awards. Now, the Waitrose Way Awards, second year, set up absolutely to reward those companies in our supplier base that have done great things on the key CSR agenda points. So environmentally, waste, water, carbon, in terms of social responsibility, treating people fairly, and actually things like nutrition through living well, and in our case, because we're very keen to support sustainable British agriculture, there are awards for people who have made steps in increasing the sustainability of British agriculture, or championing British as we call the pillar.
So renewable power is a key target for Waitrose. Can you explain a bit more about what you're doing in this area?
Well, we use green electricity in all of our business. So you're sort of sitting in a place where you're going, look, we've done this piece of work, it's constantly evolving, it's constantly improving, but we've set a green agenda in our stores, which is there. We know that our customers are interested in following a similar green agenda. So it's about really talking to them about what's one of the biggest things that you can actually do to reduce your own footprint. Now, people will go, I tell you what, really good idea, turn off your tumble dryer. And of course, I've then got 100,000 working families who have not got the time or the space or whatever to actually do anything other than use the tumble dryer. So am I going to try and make them feel really, really guilty about something they can't change? And the answer is no, because that's not the way forwards. If you then adopt a renewable power policy in your own life, i.e. you subscribe to a renewable provider, actually you've gone a long way towards mitigating the impact of your, what we might call normal lifestyle, without having to change it hugely. Yes, by all means, think about how much you use the tumble dryer for your own economics, but actually the environmental imperative of that can be hugely benefited by changing to a renewable power supplier. And this month, in fact, we've been running a promotion which is to really encourage people to consider that option through, in this case, Ecotricity.
How is technology helping you implement your plans?
Technology is an enormously important part of this, because you do say, to actually do something, you need to measure it for a start. So we will encourage things like sub-metering, so that suppliers will understand where their consumption actually is. So let's say you're doing sub-metering of water. Let's say you turn your factory off and you're still using 100,000 litres. You know you've got a leak. And of course that's on your meter and it's costing you money. So it's quite interesting how very quickly the CSR agenda really starts to line up actually with the bottom line of companies. And people are usually pretty good at measuring their bottom line. So all of that kind of measurement and technology that is used to evaluate the bottom line position of companies also applies to the CSR agenda. And I do joke that in many companies, the CSR director unknowingly is actually the finance director, because it's the finance director that's worried about the carbon tax, it's the finance director that's worried about the fuel bill, the water bill, all of the rest of these things, which, actually you just reposition that into a different place. It's in a CSR bucket. He is actually the CSR director in many cases.
So when you're talking to suppliers around sustainability and ethical sourcing, do you find you're pushing at an open door?
When I'm talking to our suppliers or people or key stakeholders within our business, generally speaking, I do find that we are pushing on an open door. And that's because I think most people have got a sharing of that vision. Actually, that vision is defined in the Waitrose Way. One of the key functions of the Waitrose Way is to provide this overall vision and direction, if you like. So what we're doing now, what we're going to do, that people can get behind. And we have found that the level of engagement that we've had has gone up dramatically. And it's been a huge lesson, actually, for me personally. Actually, if you start to put out reams and reams and reams of paper of policy and all the rest of it, people glaze over. If you put out a few simple punchy statements which have got high impact, people get behind you. And this is an agenda which most people genuinely do want to follow. So, it's not actually that much hard work once people understand the page you want to get onto.
How as an organisation are you using data to improve the sourcing of goods and services?
When I'm thinking about the data that we use, the subject is absolutely massive. And you can look at all sorts of different things. All you need to understand really is the order of magnitude of impact that you can have. Actually, there may be something that's really massive that if you could change it would make a huge difference, but you have no means of changing it. Don't waste your time. Do something smaller which you can actually do, and you'll create a change which is more significant. Maybe that bigger subject will become accessible to your, whatever it is you're doing in the future. And the numbers, the biggest numbers, so what really, if you can't touch it.
Great, thank you, Quentin.